So has it changed much in the last few years at all down here? Is it?
No, I've been involved in this one for about 2.5 years now. Work confined spaces hasn't changed in that time.
These would be the two toilet cubicles here, with chemical Elsan toilets. And there's a gap between the bricks either side to vent. As you can imagine, the venting wasn't brilliant. This is a fairly standard airlock here. You've got the sloping buttresses where you would have had a gas curtain which would have rolled down, a very heavy curtain. And the air raid wardens or the guys on post would be controlling people entering. There'd be another gas curtain there. And I mean, I've actually spoken to somebody who was sitting the other side of the, within the Portland Square shelter, who would have been sitting one side of one of these glass curtains, and even then, when the bomb fell, rubble came through.
So how many people could you get down here?
Well, in the Portland Square shelter, it was built to accommodate 1,000.
Is that a very tight 1,000, or is that?
There were standard regulations for the actual spacing. I'm not sure, I think it was 28 inches for an adult, although don't quote me on that. So you could actually work out roughly, assuming that it was seating, benching both sides all the way around with a gap of a defined distance between the two rows of benches. Then you could roughly work things out that way. But in fact, in the Portland Square shelter, there were quite a few sleeping arrangements for children.
And how long would you be able to last down here?
I'm presuming that it was for an overnight duration, really. I mean, some of the raids, in the height of the Blitz, were encompass about 8 hours. So you could well be down here for 8 hours.
Mm. And how safe is this air raid shelter?
The air raid shelters were as safe as they could be, notwithstanding a direct hit.
And how does this compare to other air raid shelters?
This in construction is very similar to a standard arched, tunnelled shelter, like the Portland Square one, like the one behind 22 Portland Square, which was the water engineers department, which was built, I guess, by the same builder, so to the same standard. I mean, there are other different constructions. There are rectangular constructions as well. But
and how long would it take to build one of these?
I think the complete construction of most of the underground shelters took about 3 months.
It's quite fast.
It's quite fast, but then you had a big workforce, of course.
Yeah. How many approximately?
I wouldn't like to say.
Hundreds?
Oh, in Plymouth?
Yeah.
Well, in terms of a large underground air raid shelters, I would guess in the order of 10 to 50. Again, not an expert in that area. But there were certainly several hundred shelters of all types for communal shelters. There were quite a few built above ground, and so on.
So was this air raid shelter hit at all? Did it take any attacks?
Not that I'm aware, no.
No?
No. These are all typical of the bulkhead fittings that would have been here. Obviously, these are modern ones, relatively modern.
And what would the original ones be like?
Almost identical, I would say. Almost identical. Whether these are the original patterns, I wouldn't like to say. Here would be another escape hatch. Another toilet down there. Again, another set of toilets.
Look about that way again and turn right and go down to the corner.
I mean, we're walking around now, and it's quite spacious. Because,
yeah, it's not as tight as I imagined.
no, but when you think that you've got benching out to there, and you've got benching out to there,
and people sitting down.
There's people sitting down, and children no doubt running around having fun, because they did have fun in these shelters.
New experience.
A new experience. I having spoken to one guy who lost both his parents in the Portland Square shelter, his reminiscences of the war years were one of, well, I wouldn't say excitement so much, but you know, he enjoyed it. It was
new adventure.
It's adventurous for a young teenager.
Yeah.
The war years was something different, and even though he lost his parents. This, I would imagine that although this is somewhat deeper than the Portland Square air raid shelter, this would have been the standard sort of arrangement. Again, you've got the sloping buttresses with the gas curtain on the outside. I would say in the Portland Square shelters there were probably about half as many steps.
Really?
She's doing, I'm not fully sure, but